faces, but Portland is a guy who got a couple of games coming back from the injury. Looks like he plays well. Just how is he coming along, in the spring and everything?
Good. I mean, healthy. I mean, that's the thing. Been able to go through the entire off season without a hiccup, without any of that stuff, and building, having him in the room is it's sort of like the same stuff as Greg Rubin and all that. Like, they all sort of gravitate to him, and he takes ownership. He's a very intelligent player. How he carries himself, and goes out there and works every day. I'm really happy to have him rolling around right now.
And then linebacker obviously is going to be a whole new group.
Yeah.
I know it's early, but just what are you seeing about the guys that you have in that locker room?
About what I thought, from the new guys, and I mean, a few guys that were coming back. Jaden Flaker and Donovan Mathena are two guys that you have to bring up. I mean, I think, had over 200 reps of special teams last year. So they've contributed, and now stepping into another role at linebacker. And then some of the new guys, like Sam Brumfield is just a born leader, is a good football player. Drew Watts is a really good football player. Cam Burden, Everett Rusall, like all those guys that the new guys with some of the old guys coming in, just seeing some of those guys gel and learn a new system and all that stuff. I think it's been really good. Energy's been really good. Always is first two practices when you don't have pads on.
First two practices, I know it's early. Have you learned anything about your defense?
Yeah, we're fast.
How do you factor that into your preparation?
Fast players are better than slow players. Come on. No,
I mean,
just kidding.
They are.
Yeah, now we have some length, we have some speed. It seems like to me we got some intelligent players. They can problem solve within each other. That's the biggest thing that you see, to me, with the practices with no pads. False step, and you can't be physical, and you're not really putting your face on people yet, and things like that. And being able to problem solve where the issues are, and coverages and run fits and things like that. But being able to practice like a pro with no pads, we didn't. The last two practices, the way I look at it, we didn't have a whole lot of people on the ground, and they're going full speed. That's a good sign. I've been out there before when you don't have shoulder pads on, things like that. People were just tripping over the top of each other, and there's not a lot of people on the ground, which means you got some athletes out there that can problem solve, understand where their space is, things like that. So they're not, it's not collides right now. So that's really what I'm looking for.
I know you're big on your players on the field being able to trust each other, one another. Are you starting to see any signs of that gelling in terms of?
It sounds the correct way. And what I mean by that, like the communication, if the communication is not loud, they're not confident with each other when they're speaking. And it's consistently gotten louder. The communication, even the signals to each other, have become more confident, more abrupt. To me, that's where I can tell when I sort of stand back and all that, what it sounds like and what they look like and how they move together and all those different things. That's when you can start figuring out the guys that are starting to gel together. They're starting to trust each other a little bit more. They know somebody's fixing to show up where he's leaving. Different things like that. They understand where the fit in front of them is. Biggest thing for all these guys right now too is you got to understand where you can miss. If you know where you can miss, you can play faster. I've said that before, but it's never going to change. Because if I know where I can miss, I know where the next guy is, and that just comes back to trust where I'm supposed to be on the field.
On the defensive line, obviously Willow's coming back. Besides him, what are you looking for from other guys, and is there anyone who's kind of stood out?
Shaq's had a bunch of reps on Saturdays. Mon Cole's had a bunch of reps on Saturdays. You got some guys, and then you got guys like Rayon Buell. That's going to show up, and he's going to do things. Poodle Walker has done some really good things in the first couple of days. There's some young guys like Jalen Charles. You see him running around. Kavion Benton. There's a number of guys that are coming off the football right now. Obviously, in that short of space with no pads on right now, you should be getting off pretty good. But also like the details of how they're using their hands and things like that, and the more detail they're holding each other accountable with the details of where their hands are supposed to be up front. And I've seen the growth even from January to now on how hard that group works, which is good. That's what you want up front. It starts there.